So I'm Markus Rex. I work for Novell as Senior Vice President for the Open Source Business Unit. So this is the Linux Foundation Summit is the event to go to for me in the Linux area. If I want to network with people, if I want to have the opportunity to talk to guys I haven't seen in a year, like since the last collaboration summit, or if I have just topics of interest that I want to get like the most up-to-date information for. So I went to the ISV session. Given my past involvement with the LSB, certainly that was a natural fit. And then I will probably go into some Moblin thing later this afternoon. So for me, the LSB is like the #1 thing that stands between Linux as a unified alternative operating system and the Unix chaos where you had like your different operating systems which were targeted at being different. And LSB is, for me, is the one thing that keeps all the Linux distributions tied together. I'm thrilled to see how many distributions are actually on board and are supporting and are in the process of certifying or are already certified. It is delightful for me to see the progress we made since I left the Linux Foundation, went back to Novell on LSB 4.0, the progress we made as far as tools are concerned, the progress we made as far as the added functionality is there, and also simply the breadth of the of the platform that LSB defines now. So I think when people look at the AppChecker today, the LSB AppChecker, we have a tool which is like so stellar compared to anything else that is out there in the Linux area to validate some application compatibility with a given platform. It's really fantastic to see. The thing that if we look at where it came from, I mean, it was this cryptic text thing where you had to type things. Nobody was ever able to do this. I certainly have not met any people who would ever admit that they used it. I mean, listen, unless their manager forced them to. So and now when you walk around here at the summit, you see people saying, "Oh, you can actually hear them talking about this, and yeah, I tried this. This is great. It's so easy to use." And just as a live example, we had on this, I was as part of the ISV session. We had one of the applications that we were discussing was real basic. So Tetsuo downloaded it, ran it through the thing, showed it live on screen, and said, "Yep, guys, you are compatible. You are good to go." This was something which was totally impossible with previous technologies. So it's a fantastic step forward. And I think with the ease of use that we now have, we really can get ISVs to very proactively engage with us. So for me, the next steps on the LSB are the following. With 3.2 and 4.0, we really increased the breadth of the LSB standard. And we included so many new things that I think we reached now a point where we can say, yep, we have a solid foundation to build from. Now we need to get the tools in shape that we can actually make it so easy for the ISV to use those tools, like integration into build environments, integration into IDEs, integration in QA processes and stuff like that. And of course, the online integration with our database and the LSB navigator and so on. A lot of that is there. I think there are things that can be improved. And at the same time, we have to make sure that we actually, with the platform itself, that we must not let this be a static thing. So there must be improvements there. But I think we can actually change the pace towards a more smaller incremental things and not those gigantic steps. Like we added, 15 libraries between LSB 3.2 and 4.0. I don't think that we need to continue at that pace. This gets too big. And the thing is right now, from my perspective, not the missing libraries. It's more the ease of use for the people who are supposed to use it, actually. So that is a very interesting question to talk to, and it's always nice to talk about where we came from with Linux and where we are and where we go to. I personally started to use Linux in mid of 1992, so way early. And I remember there were some things which could be called distributions. You did a lot of the stuff yourself, and it was painful. You needed to be very enthusiastic about what you were doing. And of course, I mean, if you want to change the keyboard layout, you had to recompile the kernel and other interesting things. I mean, it's light years. We are light years from there. And when we look at the progress that Linux made over the time, I think there are two things. So first of all, Linux dramatically increased its experience for users. So you can now use it as a normal person. I mean, my wife uses Linux at her main desktop. I don't think she had used Linux in Windows in whatever 8 years or so. She does all her things there. My daughter doesn't have a Windows desktop. She uses Linux only. She doesn't have a Mac either. She tried the Mac and said, oh, the Linux is fine, which was like, whoa. For a 14-year-old, this was like a bold statement. And then so that's one area where we just got the usability increased dramatically. And this is not only the desktop, even for the server administrator. So it just became so much more comfortable to do things. Then, of course, the breadth again, where we have the spread of all these hardware architectures. Linux can be found everywhere. As Jim Zemlin yesterday said in his keynote, and he has this great graphics with all those pictures of all those devices on there, from the TV to the cell phone to the navigation system to the big mainframe to the reservation system to the kiosk, wherever. Linux is everywhere. That certainly is a trend that is just impressive to see. And when I look forward into what might come next, I think there are some areas where Linux can still grow. Some other of those niche markets, those specialized devices. I have yet to see a dishwasher with Linux in it, for example. There might be, I don't know of any. I mean, not that this is going to change the world. It would just be a cool next thing to see household appliances have Linux on there. And then, of course, you really have the situation that you can think about with the convergence of cell phones and laptops to those netbooks and nettops and whatever you call those devices, internet tablets and all those things. I think you're introducing a new way of computing and a new way of how computing is consumed, because right now you have like your standard laptop thing, or you have your desktop thing, or whatever. And then you have your phone as a completely separate thing. With all these things converging together, I think Linux can play a critical role there. On the desktop front end, as well as on, of course, you need servers on the back end to handle all that load and to power all of this. And I think that's one thing where Linux is going to play a critical role. There are a couple of areas where Linux is going to grow. The first area, I mean, Al Gillen hinted at this yesterday in his presentation on Linux usage and how is Linux behaving. And IDC published another report a month ago where 62% of the enterprises said that they were going to adopt Linux or accelerate Linux now because of the tighter budgets. So I certainly think that in difficult times, a cheap solution is always a good idea. And this is like a natural fit for Linux to grow into. Apart from that, I really think that it is the number of devices and the multiplication of those small devices that are going to come about where Linux is really going to make a difference. I mean, Linux is successful in the server market. Linux will continue to grow there. There's no doubt where every projection says this, and we experience it. I mean, as a significant vendor there, yep, I would agree with this statement. I think the exponential growth will come in the multiplication of all those small devices. If we look at how different people are now working with their phone and with their Blackberries and with their media thingies and whatever, I'm like a diehard server person, so I'm the wrong person to ask for what brand to use or whatever. So, but any of those small devices and things, if you look at how people use it. If I look at my daughter, how natural it is for her to have those things, and she does her thing there and everything. It's like, wow, this is different than I use. For them, it's just so, for the younger people, it's just so natural to use this. I think there's going to be so much growth in this area where people will use those devices. I think that really is going to be the difference